The ultimate flagship phones are finally here, the Xiaomi 17 Pro and Xiaomi 17 Pro Max. Interestingly, Xiaomi decided to skip the 16 series entirely this year and jumped straight to the 17 lineup, a move that many say takes a page out of Apple's playbook. But honestly, after spending some time with these two devices, I can confidently say the upgrades justify the leap. The hardware feels like a next-level evolution, truly a generation ahead. After testing both models, I can say one thing for sure: I'm seriously impressed. From the innovative design to the secondary display on the back, these phones are packed with creativity and functionality. There's so much to explore, so let's dive into what makes the Xiaomi 17 Pro and Pro Max stand out. A quick shout out to my tech partner from China for sharing this video. A big thank you for making this possible. Hey everyone, it's Maiky from techmaiky. If you love staying updated with the latest gadgets, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our exciting tech content. Starting with the design, this year's 17 Pro series has one major highlight: the camera module, Deco. At first glance, it looks quite similar to the iPhone 17 Pro lineup, but the moment you tap the screen to wake it up, the resemblance ends. Xiaomi has built an actual display into this rear camera module, a brilliant move that instantly brings back memories of the iconic Xiaomi 11 Ultra, which also had a small rear screen. This time, though, the secondary display is larger, sharper, and far more functional. The visuals are richer, and there are so many new ways to use it. Another noticeable design change is that Xiaomi ditched the all-glass camera cover design used in previous generations. Now, the two main cameras sit separately, again, reminiscent of the iPhone's layout, and the ultra-wide camera is placed flush with the back panel, giving it a clean, balanced look. It's a modern yet nostalgic design that reminds me of earlier smartphones. Elegant, simple, and great to hold. Overall, the 17 Pro series nails it in terms of aesthetics. It had ergonomics and premium feel. Xiaomi clearly put a lot of effort into refining the look and feel this year, and it shows. Now, I know what you're wondering. What's the point of that rear screen, and how do you actually use it? Well, here's a quick rundown. It shows the time, displays notifications, acts as a decorative element, and even serves as a live preview when taking photos. For starters, you can customize the always-on clock display in the settings with tons of styles to choose from. It's almost like having a tiny secondary phone or a mini foldable display on the back. There's even an AI pet animation option that brings the screen to life, and you can upload your own photos to personalize it even more. When it comes to functionality, the back screen supports notifications, a travel assistant, alarms, maps, and even a music player. And that music player looks stunning. The animation and smooth display make it feel luxurious. It's one of those small details that just elevates the user experience. You can even swipe down to quickly access playback controls, which is super convenient. And here's one of my favorite uses. When you're taking photos, the back screen becomes a live preview window. So if you're snapping pictures of your partner or friends, they can see themselves and pose perfectly. No more "that's a bad angle" complaints. There's also a photo booth mode, which lets you instantly capture a classic 4-frame photo strip with multiple templates to choose from, and the results have this cool retro vibe. Xiaomi also teased a new feature called Super Sticky Notes, which lets you pin things like QR codes or quick info directly onto the back display. The animation looks really slick, but the feature isn't active yet. It'll arrive through a future OTA update. Once it's live, I'll definitely test it out and share the results. But Xiaomi didn't stop there. They even made a special protective case designed specifically for the back screen. Once you snap it on and power it up, the rear display transforms into a mini gaming interface. There are folded-in games for now, but you can add more using emulators. Imagine playing classic console games right from that tiny screen. It's such a fun idea. The buttons on the case feel surprisingly responsive too, so gameplay actually feels satisfying. Of course, adding the case means you'll lose wireless charging since it's a bit thick, but that's an understandable trade-off for what it offers. Fans have already started designing their own creative case mods, everything from retro BlackBerry-style shells to nostalgic media players. And honestly, they look awesome. I'm excited to see what Xiaomi does next with this concept because the potential for expansion is huge. All right, let's flip back to the front display for a moment, because this is another area where Xiaomi really went all out this year. The screen quality is seriously impressive. Compared to the previous generation, there are tons of upgrades. The bezels are now ultra slim, the chin has been reduced even further, and the rounded corners feel incredibly refined. All of this makes the Xiaomi 17 Pro series look strikingly similar to the iPhone from the front. And honestly, it's positioned as a true competitor to Apple's flagship lineup. Now, Speaking of specs, the display itself is absolutely top tier. Xiaomi used a Huaxing Optoelectronics M10 substrate, giving the screen incredible brightness and clarity. Peak brightness under direct light can reach up to 3500 nits, which is insane. Perfect for outdoor use. On top of that, the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max gets an exclusive Super Pixel mode, which allows it to display at 1.5K resolution while still maintaining a 2K level sharpness for text and images. And since it's not running a full 2K screen, power consumption stays lower, which means better efficiency without sacrificing clarity. Of course, Xiaomi's always been known for its eye protection features and accurate color calibration, and this generation continues that tradition flawlessly. Both models deliver an excellent viewing experience, whether you're watching videos, scrolling through social media, or just using it day to day. Now let's move to something we all care about, the camera system. Xiaomi's camera performance has always been one of the most talked about aspects of their flagships, and this year is no exception. But interestingly, despite the Pro Max label, the camera setup on the 17 Pro Max doesn't look particularly pro at first glance. So how do the photos actually turn out? To find out, we ran a series of real-world tests. And right away, the upgrades over the previous generation are very noticeable. The main sensor is a 50 megapixel light and shadow hunter 950L, featuring a 1.28-inch large sensor with support for Xiaomi's third generation high dynamic range technology. The result? A stunning 16.5 stops of dynamic range. That's better than many professional cameras. In fact, it even surpasses the Hasselblad X2D, which offers 15 stops. That's impressive for a smartphone. In practical use, it means that in high-contrast scenes, such as when you're shooting into strong light, you'll get rich details in both shadows and highlights, without overexposure. Portraits against the sun? They come out beautifully balanced, with natural colors and depth. Moving on to the telephoto lens, Xiaomi made some bold design choices here too. Inside this relatively compact 6.3-inch body, they've managed to fit a periscope telephoto lens offering 5x optical zoom. It uses the Samsung GN5 sensor and an inverted periscope structure, a pretty advanced engineering feat given the phone's size. Now, while the image quality might not quite match the very best flagship telephoto cameras, it's still surprisingly capable for everyday photography. The results are sharp, detailed, and more than satisfactory for casual use. In fact, it even exceeded my expectations in some shots. Of course, if you compare it directly with other high-end flagship phones, Xiaomi's telephoto might fall a little short. But again, considering this is a smaller phone with a full periscope setup, that's quite an achievement on its own. We also tested it head-to-head against the iPhone 17 Pro's new quad telephoto lens, and in many situations, the Xiaomi 17 Pro actually came out ahead. The sharpness, contrast, and overall tone felt more natural and pleasing to the eye. The Xiaomi also handled light and shadow transitions better, helping subjects stand out more clearly. Now, a quick question for you guys. When it comes to telephoto lenses, what's your preferred zoom range? 3x, 4x, or 5x? Personally, I've always been a fan of around 3x zoom, which gives you that comfortable 70mm focal length look. It's perfect for street photography, not too close, not too far, and it naturally compresses the background for a more cinematic feel. Using the 5x zoom on the Xiaomi 17 Pro, I found myself stepping back more often to frame the shot, which was a fun change of perspective. It kind of reminds you to look a bit farther and find new beauty in your surroundings. That 150mm equivalent focal length gives you a dramatic compression effect that looks fantastic in portraits and landscapes alike. The image quality is solid too. And here's something I love. The telephoto lens also supports macro photography. The minimum focusing distance is around 20 centimeters, which means you can get close-up, detailed macro shots using the telephoto lens itself. That combination of zoom and proximity produces some amazing results that the iPhone simply can't match, since Apple's macro mode relies only on the ultra-wide lens. So yeah, when it comes to camera performance, Xiaomi has clearly pushed the limits once again, and the results speak for themselves. All right, let's dive into the comparison, starting with the telephoto macro performance. The results here are honestly stunning. The detail and depth this lens can capture are on another level. But there's one common issue with macro shots. When you get too close, the depth of field becomes so shallow that parts of your subject can turn blurry. Xiaomi's already thought of that and added a dedicated depth of field expansion mode, which helps keep more of your subject in focus so your macro shots stay sharp and clear. Now, if you're someone who wants even more power from your telephoto lens, there's an obvious upgrade, the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max. It also supports 5x optical zoom, but what makes it special is the sensor underneath. This one uses a half-inch Samsung GN8 sensor, paired with a traditional periscope structure instead of the inverted design used in the standard Pro model. The benefit? A larger sensor base and less optical path loss, which means cleaner, brighter, and sharper photos. So after seeing both in action, what do you think? Are you leaning toward the Xiaomi 17 Pro, or do you prefer the 17 Pro Max? Personally, after testing them side by side in both day and night conditions, I'd say the Pro Max delivers noticeably better telephoto results. Better hardware almost always means better photos, and that's exactly what happens here. Interestingly, the Pro Max's minimum focusing distance is 30 centimeters, about 10 centimeters longer than the regular 17 Pro. But in real-world use, that difference isn't a big deal. The results still look fantastic. Next, let's talk about the ultra-wide camera. Xiaomi did something smart here. Both phones now feature a flattened ultra-wide lens, and they use the same OmniVision OV50M sensor. We tested color consistency across the main ultra-wide and telephoto lenses, and honestly, the results were great. The tones match really well with no awkward color shifts. Overall, the image consistency across all three cameras feels smooth and natural. If you've looked closely at the sample photos, you might have noticed a subtle change. The photo watermark has been redesigned. It's no longer the old solid white stripe. Now it's got a frosted, semi-transparent look. Personally, I'm not sure I love it. It looks a bit like an HDR overlay, but the brightness doesn't quite match the rest of the photo, so it can look slightly off. If Xiaomi really wants to go for that frosted glass aesthetic, it would be cool to see it more integrated. Maybe even use AI to generate dynamic watermark styles that adapt to the photo's colors and lighting. That would be next level. Still, this new watermark system does give you more customization options. You can choose from different styles depending on your taste. Personally, I prefer the minimal text watermark. It looks more elegant, especially with that Leica-inspired font. It gives off a more premium vibe. Now, moving on to battery life, which is another big win this year. The Xiaomi 17 Pro packs a 6300 mAh battery, which is 900 mAh more than last year's 6.3-inch Xiaomi 15. Combined with the new, more efficient SoC, battery life gets a significant boost. In endurance tests, it finished with 49% remaining power, around 6% less than the standard Xiaomi 17, but that's totally fair since it also has a smaller battery by 700 mAh. The real shocker, though, is the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max, which comes with a massive 7500 mAh battery. That's a huge upgrade, 1400 mAh more than last year's 15 Pro. Pair that with the low-power display and the optimized HyperOS 3 system, and the results are incredible. In a 5-hour endurance test, the Pro Max still had 55% battery left. That's seriously impressive. And when it comes to charging, both phones deliver flagship speeds. The Xiaomi 17 Pro supports 100-watt wired and 50 watts wireless charging. Based on lab results, starting from 1% charge, it hits 18% in 5 minutes, 31% in 10 minutes, 76% in 30 minutes, and fully charges in 47 minutes. Really fast considering the battery size. The 17 Pro Max also supports the same 100-watt wired plus 50-watt wireless combo. From 1%, it hits 19% in 5 minutes, 32% in 10 minutes, 79% in 30 minutes, and a full charge in 54 minutes. Filling up a 7500 mAh battery in under an hour is seriously impressive. Overall, this year's Xiaomi 17 Pro series is a huge step up, both in specs and real-world experience. After using them for a while, I can honestly say they've nailed the balance between design, performance, and practicality. The Xiaomi 17 Pro in particular stands out as the perfect compact flagship. It offers a sleek design, premium feel, and a proper 5x periscope telephoto lens, all without compromising battery life or other features. For users who love smaller phones but don't want to sacrifice power or camera quality, this is the ideal choice. As for the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max, it's the ultimate big screen version. Massive battery, optimized display, and an upgraded periscope camera that delivers incredible shots. Add in the smoother HyperOS 3 experience with new fun features, and you've got a true flagship powerhouse. Honestly, after so many years, I think this is Xiaomi's most well-rounded and worthwhile flagship lineup yet. If you're looking for a phone that delivers on every front, the 17 Pro series is an easy recommendation, zero hesitation. That's it for today's video. Tell me which one you'd pick, the compact Xiaomi 17 Pro or the powerhouse 17 Pro Max, down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.